Would you not rather have a producer do it? I bet we could round one up.
It's another appendage now.
I'm going to start doing it in solidarity.
Controller device
with nothing.
Keeping my muscles limber.
We missed you.
Thank you.
You were out of town? You were back in DC?
Yeah, for like a journalism summit, and got to see the White House, got to see the Lincoln Memorial, the reflecting pool, the Washington Monument, all that stuff. It was like 200% humidity.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And
how did the straight hair hold up? My little curly hair is like...
Yeah. But it was just the sweating down your back, like swelling up heat.
I do not miss that at all. I used to live and work in Louisiana, and it's like, 100 degrees, 100% humidity.
We have it pretty easy
Just a sweaty
here.
mess. We do.
Totally, yeah.
We really do.
It was good. So, yes, I was sweating like crazy, but we saw the sights and did some cool journalism-y stuff that to make the news better and to talk to you online. That's kind of what the future is. So anyway, before you need to go and do a traffic hit for radio, or do you need to go
We're going to talk some more traffic, aren't we?
Yeah.
I got a minute.
You got 1 minute. Okay.
I got 1 minute.
Run to the back booth to do KXL updates, which is kind of fun. So, Chris, you did a story on left lane hogs.
It is by far one of the biggest pet peeves of Oregon and Washington drivers. Really, I think if you went anywhere in the country and just asked people, what drives you crazy on the freeway? It's people that don't get out of the way in the left lane, right? Because the left lane is for
passing.
Right. Most of us.
For Brenda and I, it's just for driving.
Well, because you drive really fast and you pass lots of people. So you call driving passing.
Yeah. So what was the kind of consensus? I mean, everyone's annoyed by it. I'll admit.
What I found really interesting is that a PEMCO poll suggested, a recent PEMCO insurance study suggested that most people are aware that the left lane is for passing, but they still think the other guy does it more often than they should. Like 2/3 of drivers just hang out in the left lane. That is the perception anyway. It's always the other guy. But in any event, it's happening, and it drives people nuts.
I thought it was for passing, and then you just get back in the left lane and keep going.
That's what I do.
I know. I think that's what a lot of people do, actually.
So we got a fun little story to show on this, I think.
Yeah, I know you have to run off and do radio. Here is the story that Chris did. Watch this, and then we'll talk about it.
Cruising in the left lane is a hot button topic for drivers.
That's my number one.
That go slower than they should in the left lane?
Yeah.
Yes. It drives me nuts.
I give them the head shake of shame. If I pass somebody on the right, I look over and shake my head really like this.
If you've ever driven to Salem, Seattle, Hood River, really anywhere on a long highway drive, you've no doubt encountered someone holding up traffic in the left lane.
4 miles and miles and miles.
And do you have a name for those people?
Irritating.
Anyone else want to chime in?
Left lane hog, left lane camper.
Sunday drivers on Wednesday, they need to stay home and let somebody else do the driving. Driving Miss Daisy.
You're speeding, I can see it.
We're only doing about 19 miles an hour.
I like to go under the speed limit.
But the speed limit's 35, yeah.
It drives people crazy. It's a big complaint here in Washington. Everyone's honking at you and waving at you and telling you that you're so special as they're passing you on the right. You need to get over. That lane is designated for passing.
Please use your blinker and move over.
Or you might get to meet a member of the Washington State Patrol. The law in Washington, keep right, except to pass. WSP pulled over about 13,000 drivers last year for the offense. They issued 92 citations in Southwest Washington at $136 a pop. In Oregon, there is some room for interpretation, but you can be pulled over for driving in the left lane if you're impeding traffic flow. In fact, this Facebook post from KGW viewer Michael Graham shows exactly that. OSP confirms that the driver being pulled over in this video was given a warning.
Yeah, getting him out of the fast lane. That's what happens when you're in the fast lane.
Despite varying laws on the books designed to curb this behavior, it still happens. According to a recent study, the perception is that a whopping 2/3 of you merely sometimes, or worse yet, rarely keep right except to pass.
We have somewhat different views of how appropriate it is to stay in the left lane.
That the passing lane is for passing and that the right-hand lane is for cruising. I guess I think that the way everything works out, the incentives are to just kind of stay in the left lane.
But if you hang out in the left lane, you might get the dreaded head shake of shame.
And you'd be surprised that people get over without reacting angrily.
So the head shake of shame works.
I think it does.
Gratifying when it works?
It is very gratifying when it works.
Like you've done a public service?
Yeah, or at least I made myself feel better, which is close enough.
Brilliant.
I mean, when you catch somebody out there on the road doing something they shouldn't, and then you kind of like, hey, come on, really? And they're like, oh, you're right. I should, that's like a gratifying driver exchange, right?
It is, but I had the opposite experience because when I want to pass and somebody's camped out in the left lane, I always do that little. Like I look at them like,
gotta let them know.
They don't even look over. It's like they're in their own little world, just putzing down the highway in the left lane.
Are there? Tell me if you think this is true. Some people believe I'm driving the speed limit. You're not supposed to go any faster, so I should be fine just camped out in the left lane. Do you think some people have that
But if
mentality?
someone's coming up fast behind you, like I always get over, but then I get right back.
But that's why, Oregon says you can't impede traffic. If you've got a line of cars behind you, if you're, now that goes to the oblivious thing.
Yeah.
You should always be checking your mirrors. There's another thing, like, yeah, you're doing the speed limit, Rod. You're just hanging out there. But if you have traffic lined up, then you're not paying attention to what's going on around you. And it's definitely a touchy subject.
I said earlier something that really ticks me off too. Some people, maybe they're not camping out in the left lane, but they'll get over to pass a truck. Let's say the truck is going 64 and the person passing them is 65. Well, then you're sitting there beside that truck yourself with the car in front of you. I'm like, if you're going to pass somebody, hit the darn gas and get around.
The truck speed limit outside of town is like 60. So that's actually another reason why we have reduced speed limits for trucks. They don't want the trucks trying to, for lack of a better term, race cars down the freeway. They want the cars in one lane, the trucks in another. So that's one thing.
I hate being beside.
So we're
I'll be right back.
No, he's got to do a radio traffic. Speaking of traffic, he has to do a radio
Yes, to
hit
do
for
traffic.
KXL. So Peggy Mag on Instagram. Hi, thanks for watching, Peggy.
Hi.
She says, I hate it when a semi tries to pass another semi,
Oh, yeah, that takes a
especially
while.
on a hill. Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, it takes a while.
That always freaks me out. If you like between two semi trucks on a freeway, I always
Completely.
like.
No, I do too. I'll like hang back. I don't like to pass
The
them.
old,
But
like-
to your point, you've got to go fast.
Yeah, once you decide to pass, please pass.
So yeah, Ginny Carlson says doing 70 on I-5, the traffic is thick with trucks.
No kidding.
I hope she's currently not doing 70.
Well, 70 is I mean, 70 is the speed limit in parts of Oregon.
And then she says, if you're going over the speed limit already, get off my bumper.
Jamie Ralston, hi Jamie, thanks for watching on Facebook. She says, I didn't know it was just for passing. I thought it was the fast lane. Right lane is the slow lane. I always
Jamie
knew it
said
was
she
for
didn't know
passing,
that?
like just for passing and you couldn't keep driving
I'm
there.
surprised. I mean, Lord knows there are things that everybody in the world knows that I don't know. But I'm surprised that Jamie hadn't heard that before.
Well, I do think that there is the misconception that you pass, but then you can get back in the lane. I mean, sometimes I think I don't know what people think, but I do think that people are like buzzing down. They're like, okay, I'm going to go around you, but I'm going to get back in the left lane and keep, traveling.
Keep going. Yeah, like it's my personal express lane.
Like, exactly. Let's see.
I love that they're actually doing like surveys on this though, with insurance companies, like what are your biggest pet peeves?
Oh, is that right?
That's where this there was a
Well,
study done on it.
And I was surprised from Chris's story. Wasn't the number like 13,000? Is that right?
Yes.
13,000 people in Washington have been given a
WSP
citation?
says 13,000 people statewide have been pulled over for it. So that means they got pulled over and they were given some, as the troopers like to say, some education on what the rule is. And in Southwest Washington, Trooper Finn told us that they had like 192, I think it was 192 citations
And
just
tell
last year
us
alone.
again how much the citation
136
is in
bucks.
Washington
I think it's
versus
136 in Washington for driving in the left lane. If you get cited in Oregon, it's a $270 fine for impeding traffic flow.
Yeah. But they don't really actively go after people like that in Oregon as much as in Washington.
It doesn't sound like it. It's not as in Washington. They are flat out. The law is left lane. Stay out of the left lane. You pass in the left lane and you get over, right?
Gotcha.
Did you dig into how much revenue that makes for the state of Washington?
That'd be a good
I'm
question.
curious.
Yeah, I'd like to know.
So my motto would be then ABP, always be passing.
Always be passing.
And
Stay
then
in the left
if you
lane.
always be passing, that means you've always got your foot on the accelerator. That means somebody's going to be watching you for your speeding.
Just got to set it on the old cruise control.
Sean was saying the problem is people don't care. Everyone feels like they're entitled to the fast lane despite going slower than everyone else.
Some truth to that.
Yeah, no, I think that is true. And I feel like I have my own strategy.
What is
Strategy?
it?
Well, it is because I tend to drive a little faster on the
You like
freeway.
never have gotten a ticket though.
Well, I haven't for decades.
Yeah.
I mean,
How do you
long
do it?
time.
For
I don't know.
decades? How old are you?
My
No, just kidding.
strategy. 105. Not as old as you.
This is just in. The police are going to be escorting her out as she drives around town.
So
and
this is my strategy.
Okay.
If you're going to travel in the left lane,
Yeah.
you have somebody in front of you and somebody behind you. And when you're all going in the line, they pick off the
one in the
front
back?
and the back, don't they?
I don't.
That's been my
I don't know about that, but
I've always
Officer,
thought.
I don't know.
I'm not advocating. I'm just
caught in the
saying.
middle.
I do feel compelled to mention this, though. This doesn't pertain to, you know, rush hour traffic when all 3 lanes are stacked up and they're all trying to get somewhere, or also for semi-drivers. Yes, semi-drivers don't drive in the left lane, but in some cases they are forced to, like, for instance, I-5 North in rush hour when they're trying to avoid all those on-ramps through North Portland, right? They get over as a courtesy to other drivers that are trying to get on. So, you know, I think what this boils down to is like common courtesy for everybody. Pay attention, extend some courtesy. A little courtesy goes a long way, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe if we can all practice that.
Ever happen.
Yeah.
But it's okay.
Let's see, what else are we saying? Robert says a slow lane should be for merging on and off, middle lane constant flow, left lane passing. Leave room.
Makes
So
sense.
that
Ideal
goes to
world.
that
Yeah, makes
courtesy
sense.
that you're talking about, absolutely.
So Rod, you just got back from vacation. You had some cute pictures of you went down to Missouri and finally got on a stand-up paddleboard.
Yeah, well, no, I've paddleboarded on the Willamette River. You know, I'm a man about town, Nina. I know you don't think of me that way.
No, I don't.
Nor does anybody else.
Just Nina.
So how was it?
What does that mean exactly?
Missouri was great. It wasn't crazy hot.
Yeah.
I mean, most days were around 90. This is central Missouri, but it wasn't just stupid humid. There was only one day that I played golf where I thought, my gosh, it's really kind of stifling out here. So that was great. And you remember the flooding was such a big story. So Jefferson City, Missouri, the capital city, which sits on the banks of the Missouri River, was one of those spots that made national news for the flooding being bad for just weeks and weeks and weeks. And there were still a lot of acres of farmland where the water was still standing, where you could just see those poor farmers lost their crops, entirely for the entire year. And there were still areas, you may remember this, and Chris probably remembers, there was a tornado that hit central Missouri that was a bad one. I want to say it was an F3 from Eldon up into Jefferson City that made some national news.
We were just talking about that before you went, actually, yeah.
Well, so still a lot of boarded up buildings, and you can see where the trees have been snapped off from that tornado path. And it was a pretty extensive tornado path. I saw on and off damage for, I don't know, a good 5 miles in one spot where we were driving. So it was interesting to kind of see all of that.
Yeah.
And one morning we had thunderstorms. I watched the clock. 5 hours. We had pretty constant thunder and lightning. Of course, we never get that here.
No,
It's a snap, crackle, pop.
To, right?
No, I worked in the
So you were in
Midwest
the zone.
and grew up back east. I kind of miss that about those overnight thunderstorms. The thunder wakes you up, and then the rain just rains for hours and puts you back to sleep. That is kind of a cool thing. So that that's why everybody gets excited here when we get a thunderstorm. It's
Same
like,
down
wow.
south. Every day, like during the summer at 4 o'clock when I went to school in Louisiana, it's like
Sea breeze thunderstorms.
Yeah, exactly. I know you were excited to eat your mom's cooking.
Yeah, we had.
What'd she make you?
Well, we got in on a Tuesday evening, and so I told my folks, have dinner. I don't know when we're going to get in. We had to fly to St. Louis, and it's about a 3-hour drive after that. But I did request a coconut cream pie with the egg white meringue. That's my favorite that my mom makes. So we had that when we arrived. And of course, they get the tomatoes a good month, 6 weeks earlier every summer than we do. So the tomatoes were big and that deep red.
Is that where like fried
wonderful.
green tomatoes comes from? The south? I mean, the south.
Well, from
right?
the south, yeah.
Okay.
No, I don't think we really do that. In fact, I never knew about it until I watched that movie, Fried Green Tomatoes. But it was a great time with family. And 2 weeks I was gone, and now we're back to work. And I do feel refreshed.
I bet you do.
So that's what vacation is supposed to do, right?
Yes,
2 weeks will do.
Sometimes you need 2 weeks, don't you think? Because if you have 1 week, you're like, by midweek, you're thinking, crap, I've got to go back to work. And you start to get that little
and especially if you've got things planned, you try to, like, things you want to do, you got to cram it all into, like, 3 days, and then you don't feel, then it's more work to go on vacation than it is to be at work sometimes.
Yeah.
I know. 2 weeks, you did it right, my friend.
I do want to say, go to my Facebook page, KGW Rod Hill, and if you scroll down, it's about 4 or 5 posts down. you'll find a post of myself and my daughter. We showed this on the show this morning, paddleboarding, and there's 135 people that have posted comments and pictures of their vacations during the summer.
Which I love.
And so that's fun to look at. And I was amazed how global some of the photos were, from Iceland to New York City to Hawaii to, of course, staying here in the beautiful Northwest. Our viewers really got out and traveled this summer, so that was fun to see.
Okay,
I got it right here.
Are you getting it up, Nina? So that's Seaside.
I got it.
There's Hawaii.
That's not you.
That's myself and my daughter.
There.
Yeah, so this was fun. This is a little cove on the lake where my folks live. Lake of the Ozarks, by the way, was built about the same time that Timberline Lodge was built. It was part of FDR's New Deal. Let's get Americans back to work, and the dam was part of that money. We showed these on Sunrise this morning.
And these are your followers. They're
Hawaii.
posting pictures of their vacation.
Let's see here. Seaside, their 4-year-old wanted to go do his birthday adventure up in Seaside. They're in the water there. Here's Zion National Park, which I've not been to.
Cool. Yeah.
But from everybody I've talked to, if you haven't, you're like me, you need to put it on your bucket list. So this is Leslie Cameron Fox and their family right there at the park. My mother, when we vacationed as kids, we always got this picture. Wherever you were, you took a picture, kind of the billboard picture, announcing where you were. Let's see here. Lisa, where do they go? Oh, the Redwoods. We're going to do this next summer. My family, we're always talking about it. So
have you ever been there?
Only when I was a kid. So I haven't been back as an adult. Yeah. So again, you take I-5 down, and you jump off on 101, and it's in Northern California, that little quadrant, just south of the Oregon border, right? Just a little bit. So that looks great. Valerie, Steph, and Ring, where'd you guys go?
Cute.
Rockaway Beach. This is their granddaughter.
all sandy.
How colorful is that? Well,
the
that's
sand gets all in the diapers.
And then Jane, where did they go? They went to Kashmir, Washington. I'm not sure where that is.
Wenatchee, it says.
Do you know where this is? Near above Wenatchee. Oma. How would you say that?
No idea.
Omi Gardens. Great picture. Nice beard, sir. All right. Where'd Jan
Why
go?
are you such a beard connoisseur?
I like beards.
Some people's
He's just
beards.
I'm jealous because we can't grow them. Glacier National Park. Jan posted this picture. Well, that's a nice.
Rocky
I'm assuming
Mountain
she had a
sheep.
zoom lens.
Something.
That's
Don't
really
get too
zoomed
close
in.
to those
Do we
things.
want to do one more here? Here's Jackie. Silverwood Theme Park. Great family fun. Where's that at? Do we know? Silverwood Theme Park.
Idaho, our director.
Does it say Idaho? Okay, all right.
Cool.
That looks like fun going through the on the shoot there. Anyway, that was a lot of fun. And
I just can't believe, like, some kids, I was out on the East Coast, and I mean, they're going back, they were back to school last Monday.
Yeah, I know. It seems early.
When does Portland start? I know Vancouver Public starts Tuesday of next week. My daughter goes back to school Tuesday of next week.
I want to say that Portland Public, because I'm interviewing a teacher for a back to school
Is it sometime next week, though?
I do believe it's before Labor Day this time.
Okay.
Don't quote me. I'm almost positive. I've talked to so many teachers in different school districts, I may be getting them confused.
But I think it's safe to say this is the final week where most of our kids are completely out for the entire week, and then they start going back one day or another.
What a
next
bummer.
week,
It's just gone by so fast.
I know it has.
But September's like the best month here, I think, for like weather. It's not usually super hot. And
very true.
Are you looking at any long?
Well, August. It's funny because August is when a lot of agencies, meteorologically speaking, my James Bond cufflinks, shaken, not stirred.
Oh my God, those are so cute. Okay, continue talking. I'm just going to show our
see
Instagram
that one right
family.
there. Okay. Anyway,
very cool.
Where you start getting people coming out, agencies with their outlooks. And one of the outlooks is that it's going to be a neutral year. But last year, which was supposed to be an El Nino winter, went on most of the winter to be more neutral, which threw some of the, forecast off to some degree. So my point is, I think it's still too early to really start to gain confidence. I don't typically start to roll up my sleeves and do my winter forecast research until we get through September. So October 1st is when I start to do that. Because I feel like the confidence level in October really starts to line up much better than now for what they call the INSO cycle, which is whether you're going to be in an El Nino, La Nina, or what.
That is one of my favorite things that you do.
So,
I always pick his brain. I go back to the weather center before he's even done, and I'm like, give me a hint. And because you've pretty much been spot on, have you not?
Pretty, my record is I don't think you're ever spot on when you do seasonal forecasts.
I said pretty
but
spot on.
But my record is well above what's considered the average for the
What's your gut feeling for this winter?
I actually have no, I really am not going to look until October 1st. Last winter, remember, was pretty quiet except for we had that big stretch of cold weather in February. Remember in February we had I'd never seen it in the 20 years I've been here. We had a month where the temperature of what we call the air mass, a batch of air, was low enough that the snow levels were just sitting over Portland. With that said, remember Seattle got the big storm? Eugene got the big storm.
With the snow,
We had the one east side event that got 6 to 8, the infamous, we got nothing in Beaverton, we got nothing in Hillsboro. And then Portland as a whole kind of skated through despite all that cold weather. So we'll see what's going to shape out.
Thank you very much. I live in Portland and I'm glad that we
Crazy.
didn't get it.
Hey, thank you guys for joining us on a Monday. Happy back to work.
Yes,
happy back
Monday.
to it. We'll see you guys tomorrow.